What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, and you tuned in to another edition of my vlog. I want to say thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thanks for all the support. You know I'm all about that positivity and that motivation. And I just want to know, at one point, is a black man not a sellout? You know, when you get to a certain point financially, or you acquire a certain level of wealth and you seem to be concerned with certain topics or articulate yourself a certain way, is it by default you're considered a sellout? I'm just asking because, you know, you get a lot of money or you get a certain level of success, and people think that now if you try to speak on issues or topics regarding the black community, you're no longer relevant, even though you might have came from those things because of your wealth. Therefore, you're considered a sellout. And I'm kind of confused by that and trying to understand the philosophy behind that mentality. Hypothetically, if you grew up with somebody and you and that person had the same opportunities, attended the same schools, hustled in the streets the same way, but one of you guys went on to achieve just extreme greatness or success, whatever you want to call it, you know, and whatever you perceive that to be. I'm just saying hypothetically, you know, nice house, great family, multiple cars, investments, you have passive income coming in, and what have you. And the other friend maybe has other habits and doesn't assert themselves the same way, gets caught up with a baby mama or what have you, or family drama, maybe takes a hit and does a little time, gets out, and now sees his old homie Ace Boon Coon, but time has passed and that person is at a certain level. Are you justified in feeling some kind of way because of the choices you made and the choices he made? See, that's what's so backwards about us as black people, man. If that person didn't achieve that success, then you'd be perfectly fine if they spoke out, because they don't have nothing. They don't have nothing. They're actually maybe catching a bus, so you feel better about your situation, their situation. Therefore, I mean, I've never heard of a person who was just a regular Joe being a sellout because he's still in the neighborhood. But as soon as that person, that considered regular Joe, goes and starts buying nice things and starts doing certain maybe social things or financial moves, he's a sellout or she's a sellout. We ostracize our people to the point where we can't never help each other, because the people who are doing the ostracizing don't really want to see anybody shine outside of themselves. And they're not even really trying to shine because they're not trying to really do the extra work or networking or, extracurricular to get there. They want to just be like, hey, man, I'm doing what I should do, and therefore I'm not selling out. So if you got more than I did, then you obviously had to sell out. And that's not necessarily the case with everybody. Of course, you could say there's certain people in your interpretation through social media, that they sold out because they got over on this person through this contract or did this over here on that contract. Everything in life is a contract, but once you start playing the big game and you learn about LLCs, about trust, about fiduciary agreements, you know that when you start making money, you put people around you who know how to handle money. Therefore, if a person is doing business with you, naturally, you should always say, man, look, you don't, for one, you're not, you shouldn't beat your partners, but you always want to have a lawyer in your camp. If you ain't got a lawyer on your team and you're talking about making, anything, you start getting into the six figures, mid, high six figures, low six figures, 7 figures, your likelihood of getting beat is very high. It's very high. So you better bring somebody in your stable who knows contractual law, who knows how to read agreements, so you don't sign away your rights or you don't come up with an idea that somebody can steal from you. Number 2 is when you start getting a certain amount of paper and trying to make certain moves, you can't have everybody you used to have around you to a certain degree, because some people do not want to put forth the grind and what it takes to sustain that level of economic well-being. And they will have animosity and they will take away from your flow, so you got to cut them off. And naturally, those are the first people who are going to say you're a sellout, because they're not sitting next to you or they're not riding around in your car, but they don't want to do nothing. If you train 8 hours a day, if you write for a TV show 10 hours a day, if you apply yourself to anything for X amount of time, and the next person thinks they're just going to eat off of that, what sense does that make? What sense does it make if you spent over 6 months or a year writing a script or working on a book, and that book blows up, and now you're doing interviews and you're touring the country, and the person sitting at home that knew you calls you a sellout? How does that work? How does that work? How does that even make sense? I don't get it. You're a sellout, but you sacrificed, not going out, not partying, not drinking, not doing certain things, being on a tight regiment so that you could hustle into the future, working at the present. Basically putting your eggs in a basket for a future payout, when you could have been doing what the next person's doing daily, getting cash daily, getting a check weekly, but you went for a long haul and you won with that long haul. How's that a sellout? It's a cold game, man. I've never heard somebody say in the Asian community, oh, he's a sellout. I've very rarely heard somebody in the Jewish community call another Jew a sellout. I've never heard of, most of the people, white people I've heard, hey man, that guy over there, that country western singer, he's a sellout. Until you stop tearing other people down to make yourself feel better, you're never gonna have success. You're never gonna be able to reach that next level. And at the end of the day, what are you doing differently to give yourself that next level of success? What are you doing differently? There's 2 different kinds of payouts. There's a payout now, which, you have people who are making great money, doing very well for themselves, and they're accumulating something they could tangibly touch. See, when you're hustling in the infinite world, you're hustling, but you might not touch nothing for years. But when you touch it, it's explosive. It blows people away, because the return on it is like 1,000-fold. But you can't call that person a sellout because of what they put in to get something. and in return they got that payout, and now you feel that they're not doing certain things or they're not in a certain environment, so therefore they're not relevant. If a person is trying to somehow give back to whatever degree they can, as far as through motivation, inspiration, then that's all you can ask for, because that person don't owe everybody in the hood a dime. He don't have to go back and pass out, or she, and pass out checks to everybody. That's not their responsibility. Now, the thing is to always stay humble. You know, if you see somebody and you recognize, you don't have to act all bourgeois or stuck up and nothing like that. You can always keep it 100 with somebody, but you don't owe nobody shit, man. When you put in the work and you sacrifice the time, man, that's your time. When you sit there for hours perfecting the script, a book, you know, whatever it is, building a house, designing an app or a video game, man, that's your time. That's your blood, sweat, and equity. And if the person who is hating hasn't done the same, then they can't call you no sellout. Well, they can, but that's just them because they're bitter because of your success. But it's always something, you know, for, especially in the black community, sellout. You're a sellout. You're a sellout because, you know, you don't do this, you don't do that. Man, I understand that not everybody is going to be able to move in certain circles the way other people do. Some dudes just got that flow. They were taught mannerism. They were taught conversation. Their family showed them how to mingle at the highest level. But that's something you were groomed for. You know, some of you knuckleheads just weren't groomed for it. And the only thing I can say about that is try to go back and polish your game up, man. But I personally, man, you know, I look at some people and I can see how some dudes have, you know, kind of turned their back on the black community. And then others, I see how they kind of had to move away to a degree so they didn't get robbed or killed. And, you know, in my perspective, you know, people get mad sometimes at myself because of not so-called jumping on a particular bandwagon, but I've done a lot of just street hard head type shit, but I take responsibility for it and I own up to it and I don't play the victim. Now I know everybody doesn't have the resilience to overcome a lot of the obstacles I've overcame, and they don't maybe have the willpower. But man, you can't say that's a sellout because I'm not playing the victim. I'm not making excuses for why I'm not getting no paper out here, for why I'm not out here trying to make moves. You can't get mad and say, oh, because I don't, you know, I'm not out here bashing everybody else for what I don't have. Dude, I'm 3-time felon, man. I done spent over a decade of my life out in prison. And if you ain't never been to prison, what is your excuse? If you've never been to prison and you have access now to all this information, what's your excuse, man? You don't have one. You don't have one. Because if you're smart enough to recognize that there is a game in play, that there's a biased system, which we all know, once I realize that, man, I'm not going to argue with these old weirdos, man, who don't like me because of skin color or the way man, I'm going to go over here and get paper where I know I can get it, man. But I'm not going to play, like I said, checkers on a chessboard and get my ass whooped. And you should wisen up and not do the same. Stop letting these fools whoop your ass and play the game, man. Use the tools in the toolbox for what they for, and get ahead and stop making excuses. Because like I said, I was gone a decade over the 47 years I've been on this earth, and I'm not out here crying, man. And if you ain't never done no time, you ain't got no felony, you ain't never took no hit, man, you should be out here balling. You should be getting paper. If you got any type of grind, any type of street knowledge, and somewhat of an education, you should be out here balling, using every resource you got, and using your name to basically leverage all access. I'm keeping it 100 with you, man. Big Herc 916. Hey.
That work. Hey, see, while y'all in quarantine, I got that work. Split the coronavirus wig, man. Hey, go to the link in the description and get your limited edition coronavirus wig splitter shirts. Big Herc 916 getting down fresh out.